Welcome to a presentation on the new Bright Village project, rising from the ashes of the 2015 Valley Fire in Lake County, California. The Valley Fire that swept through Lake County on September 12, 2015, was the third most damaging fire in California history in terms of property damage and lives affected. The shaded area shows the location of Lake County in relation to San Francisco, 2 hours to the south, and Sacramento, 2 hours to the east. You can see Clear Lake in the center of the county, the largest lake in the state. The box shows the area where the fire occurred. The red area shows the extent of the fire, with the lake to the north edge. Over 76,000 acres burned. Nearly 1,300 homes were destroyed. Many more homes and buildings were damaged by smoke and heat, and over 3,000 people were left homeless. The Mountain of Attention Retreat Center and the Bright Village project are located in the small square at the northern edge of the fire footprint, and the large blue rectangle indicates the general location of the survivors who the Village project is focusing on serving. The Mountain of Attention Meditation and Retreat Center, across the road from the Bright Village project site, was established in 1974 by Adidas Samraj, and it attracts visitors from all over the U.S. and around the world throughout the year. Most of the Adidam community members had been living in the area for decades as students and devotees of Adida, providing much-needed support to the sanctuary. Of the sanctuary's 900 acres, 80% was burned, while the core 40-acre temple complex was saved. The need to recover from the fire has presented us with a rare opening to potentially rebuild in a cooperative and also fire-wise and environmentally progressive fashion. Adidas Samraj explicitly called not only his devotees, but all of humankind to establish creative forms of cooperative living, both as a support for spiritual practice and as a fundamentally sane and practical way to live. Of the 277 Adidam members in Lake County, including residents at the Mountain of Attention, 140 of them lost their homes in the Valley Fire, a number that alone represents 5% of those so affected in the entire county. We are also part of a larger community that has been affected by the disaster, and we've been participating with our neighbors in organizing the recovery. Disaster experts have reported that the damage from the Valley Fire is comparative in relative magnitude to that sustained in Hurricane Katrina, and will take an equal number of years to go beyond. Within 2 weeks of the Valley Fire, the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary neighbors were gathering to discuss the possibilities in recovery from the Valley Fire. Since the fire, there have been over a dozen various town meetings, sharing information with each other on all aspects of relief, recovery, and redevelopment. One of the first choices made collectively was to concentrate on the Shenandoah Shawnee neighborhood across the road from the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary. This choice was made for several reasons. First, as you can see from this parcel map of the area, it's the closest neighborhood to the Mountain of Attention, surrounded by it on 3 sides in green. Second, this is where the largest portion of homes belonging to people associated with the Mountain of Attention were lost in the disaster, and it has the largest number of contiguous parcels to work with in developing a village. This is a closer view of the 52 parcels that make up the neighborhood. Of these parcels, 48 are owned by Friends of the Mountain of Attention. Of these 48, 38 burned to the ground. This is an aerial view of the neighborhood about a year after the fire, after all of the burned debris has been removed and a few new homes have started to be constructed. An initial group of residents who currently own several contiguous parcels in the middle of the Shenandoah neighborhood have agreed to consider developing cooperatively. The rest of the parcels are occupied by supportive neighbors and friends. Again, because of the proximity of this specific neighborhood to the Mountain of Attention Sanctuary, the local community is hoping to set a pattern for the rest of the subdivision, spreading over the neighborhood and the generations, in order to keep this land under their control for the sake of protecting and serving the Mountain of Attention and its place in the life of Lake County. The Bright Village project, thus far, is comprised of 6 to 8 core parcels for a total of approximately 6 acres. This image is a contour map of the project area, showing the bowl-shaped topography of the neighborhood. Our objective is to build homes for 40 people on this site, with modest individual units clustered together. The project's main advisors are Gary Coates and Suzanne Siepel-Coates, who are architects teaching at the university level, and also who have worked with Aditya Samraj and Adidam for decades as senior design advisors. They're national experts in sacred architectural design. Helen Degenhardt is a long-practicing architect and colleague recommended by Gary and Suzanne. She's a practitioner of Zen Buddhism, and her firm, JSWD Architects in Berkeley, has overseen and implemented projects for many retreat centers and monasteries, including Spirit Rock and Green Gulch Farm in Marin, Tassajara Zen Mountain Center, and others. We hope that Helen will be the lead designer for the project. Kate Haley and Mo Whiteside have been senior architects and designers within Adidam for decades, responsible for the design of many temples and residences at the Mountain of Attention and other Adidam sanctuaries. Kate and Mo lost their own home and design studio in the Valley Fire. They will consult closely with the Coateses and Helen. The basic design approach will be based on the popular co-housing model, in which modest individual units are clustered around expansive shared common facilities. Over 150 of these projects have been built in the United States. A principal feature of the co-housing approach is the intensive involvement of future residents in the design of the project. Through the town meetings, community members have an active input into the village and housing designs being conceived by the architects. The following slides show where our experiments currently stand. We are looking at several possible ways to lay out the project on the available landscape. One experiment, making use of a horizontal site layout and clusters of buildings, shows different types of spaces we may possibly want to create, and the relationships between those spaces, creating outdoor rooms in the California climate. A key element in the design is the clustered strips of individual units. On this side is a close-up of a possible simple unit mix of living spaces, each with a separate entrance and backyard, bathroom, and efficiency kitchen, including a 2-bedroom unit, 2 singles, 2 one-bedrooms, and 1 studio living spaces under a single covered roof conforming to the land contours. Over time, the interior walls can be reconfigured to suit a cooperative household or family. These images, not to scale, show more detailed examples of possible unit designs, illustrating how each unit has its own bathroom, efficiency kitchen, and private entrance. A principal feature of the Bright Village development will be a large community meeting and dining facility and a meditation hall. Here we see basic outlines of a possible community meeting and dining facility, a meditation hall, and one other common building, perhaps to house a school or offices. An experimental closer view of what the dining/meeting place could look like shows how a large kitchen and indoor-outdoor serving and eating spaces could be fitted onto the space. Most of us never expect to be home builders. If we purchase a house, it's usually one that has been lived in for some time or constructed by a developer. If we're adventurous, we may want to design and build a personal dream home. Taking on the challenge of building an entire village is a complex task. Some elements we are including in the Bright Village design are a mix of private and community-owned buildings on community-owned land, affordable and senior housing prices with room for extremely low incomes, the ability to safeguard and bequeath assets, fiscal safety while investing in an intimate human-scale economy, incorporating disaster relief funding and other outside financial programs. The Valley Fire was only a most recent wake-up call about the changing ecology of our region, and truly of our entire planet. Global climate changes indicate that intensified cycles of drought and flood and periodic serious fires will be a significant concern for Northern California for the foreseeable future. We are also committed to designing the village using the most advanced earth-friendly permacultural design principles, including on-site food production. Permaculture is a growing movement to design in a way that is in deep harmony with the landscape. In our location, we will use state-of-the-art water usage and conservation practices, including gray water use and rainwater catchment and storage. Relative to the continuing very real fire danger, we will also be looking to include best building and fire-safe practices within the wildland-urban interface. Relative to food and gardens, we see this as another principal characteristic of our living environment. From a financial perspective, we know that prospective village members need a mix of private and community-owned buildings on community-owned land, affordable and senior housing prices with room for extremely low incomes, the ability to safeguard and bequeath assets, and fiscal safety while investing in an intimate human-scale economy. An important aspect of the Bright Village project is its connection to the regeneration process that our entire Cobb Mountain community is going through. Members of the Bright Village have been instrumental in the establishment of the new Cobb Area Council, which is creating a dynamic partnership among a dozen local community neighborhoods and interest groups. Cobb Mountain is a diverse area with longtime residents and newcomers from the San Francisco Bay Area, well-established spiritual retreat centers like the Mountain of Attention, the Buddhist Vipassana Center, and the St. Gregory of Sinai Monastery, and down-home community gathering places like the Cobb Village Pub. We are all working actively together to protect and enhance our community as we rebuild. The Bright Village is the first project of the Siegler Springs Community Redevelopment Association. The association was established by members of the local Adidam community as a nonprofit public benefit corporation right after the fire to have an immediate and formal way to support disaster relief and create community organizations as a means of helping people in the general area help themselves after the Valley Fire. We are also fortunate to have as members of our board of directors John Carlisi and Denise Rushing. Denise is a former Alternity Energy executive with Pacific Gas and Electric, a two-term county supervisor, and co-owner of the Dancing Tree People Organic Farm in Upper Lake County. John is the CEO of the Neighborhood Development Collaborative, which builds affordable housing across the United States. John was also instrumental in the founding of the Fannie Mae Foundation in Washington, D.C., and is on the advisory board of the San Francisco Community Development Financial Institution. The Bright Village Project has been established as a limited liability company, currently with 20 members. A detailed legal operating agreement outlines our commitment to collaborative decision-making, as well as our rules for membership and governance of the village. There are 4 ways to participate in the Village Project. You can own a unit and live there. You can own a unit and rent it out, and perhaps live there later. You can be a renter. In each of these cases, you would be an active member of the limited liability company and participate in the governance of the village. Finally, we are also looking for sympathetic investors who believe in the project, but who have no interest in living there, but who can make an investment in the village as part of their overall investment portfolio. Such an investment will be limited to friends and family of village members living in selected states. In each case, we have developed specific documents, including formal registration with the SEC for a private offering, as well as registration in selected states in the United States. Our current development timeline foresees submitting designs for approval to local governments within the coming year, with groundbreaking either in 2018 or 2019, and occupancy 8 to 10 months later. We hope that you have been inspired by our project, and we invite you to contact us for further information.